All right, everybody. I'm realizing just now as we go live, and I look at myself, that I am wearing a Notre Dame hat and a sweater. But I promise, there's some Vikings here. There's always some Vikings underneath me. So, not really looking like much of a Vikings fan tonight. Maybe it's because I'm gonna have to miss out on the game on Sunday. But whatever, it is what it is. Welcome into Load the Box. I'm your host, Jordan Hawthorne, joined as always by the wonderful and the marvelous Jack Day. Jack, how is your week going coming off that big W over the Panthers?
It's going, and it's always easier heading into, especially a week after a holiday. It's always a tough week to ease into, and a big Vikings win always seems to make the weeks go by a little earlier. I was laughing you were talking about no Viking stuff as I'm rocking twin stuff as we're what five. I don't even know. I don't know. I can't remember what time of year it is half the time now, and we're with all working from home and trying to remember dates. It's kind of a pain, but yeah, I'm looking forward to another strong performance. In my opinion, I think we're going to see another great performance out of Kirk Cousins and the Vikings wide receivers this weekend. So, just looking forward to diving right into this game.
Yeah, it's gonna be a hopefully, honestly, if I'm being completely honest, I hope it's not too much of a fun game to watch. I mean, I guess for Vikings fans it would be cool if it was a fun game to watch, just for us. But I hope this isn't, coming down to the wire like last week's game. I hope we don't have to just escape the Jaguars the way that we escaped the Panthers. But I do think the Vikings have a favorable matchup. The Jags, I think, sent a clear message when they benched Gardner Minshew that they were like, yeah, no, we want to out lose the Jets, and they've come close. I believe they only have one win, so they're just waiting for the Jets to get an upset, and then I don't know if it would go to strength of schedule or what the I think strength of schedule is the second tiebreaker. So the Jags are still in contention for Trevor Lawrence, and hell, even if they don't get him, they're going to end up with Justin Fields. So not a bad draft for the Jags this year upcoming. But don't tell the players that. Don't tell the coaches that. They don't care about Trevor Lawrence or Justin Fields. They don't care about 2021. They want to put good film on, they want to put good tape up. They want to, do a good job in Sunday's game. They want to win Sunday's game because a lot of them are playing for jobs and money. So not a game to be taken lightly. Jack, does this game remind you at all of the Buffalo Bills game from 2 years ago?
Not so much the Buffalo game. I'm curious too, and this isn't a question for you. This is just a question for Vikings fans in general. Is that game now cemented in our minds? Is it like just every single game that could be labeled as a trap game, we're gonna go back to that season and be like, well, do you remember what Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills did to us? Do you remember Josh Allen hurdling Anthony Barr? Like, it's just a weird game that obviously it meant something at the time. There's implications at the end of the season as well, but it's just funny that we go back to that game. And it's funny because it's imprinted in my mind too. When you say that, the first thing that comes to my mind is Josh Allen hurdling over Anthony Barr. I can just picture that image, like just one of those things where people are bashing Barr for it. I know we don't need to get off on this tangent tonight about Anthony Barr's return next year because that could turn into a longer conversation. But no, I definitely think it's a game that the Vikings should absolutely stomp the Jaguars. I think they're up to a 10.5 point favorite now. But
Whew.
anytime that happens, it makes me question the spread a little bit just because, like you said, we have seen that against Buffalo. And in more recent history, we had a winless Atlanta team come in here when the Vikings got to 1-5 on the season. And now we have a legitimate chance at getting back to 500 going into Tampa Bay with playoff implications on the line, which just, if you would have told me that after that Atlanta game when had no optimism left in my body, I would have laughed in your face. So I think it's definitely something to look forward to this weekend. It's going to be, I don't want it to be a good game like you said either, but it scares me that a little bit, to answer your question. That 10.5 point spread, it does scare me, but I'm not overly terrified of a Mike Lennon led team coming into here. I think Mike Lennon is kind of cemented himself as a career backup. And now that I say that, I scare myself a little bit more because I feel like career backups tend to have their way sometimes with the Vikings.
Yeah, my favorite thing on the internet from last week's NFL memes that were making the rounds was Mike Glennon got replaced by Mitchell Trubisky, Trubisky got replaced by Nick Foles. Nick Foles in Jacksonville got replaced by Gardner Minshew. Gardner Minshew by Jake Luton. Jake Luton now by whatever his name is, guy who doesn't deserve to be making as much money as he is. Like you said, I don't think this is going to be a trap game. I see the implications. Also, Tom Day saying this is not Family Feud. This isn't Family Feud. You are correct. But thank you for watching along with us. This game has the feeling to me of a statement game more than it does a trap game. It feels like the Vikings barely beat Carolina. But they also, they didn't handily beat the Packers, but for a majority of the second half, the Vikings were in control of that game, and then, the Vikings defense shut down a Hail Mary attempt late. So I think this is another game similar to the Packers game, where the Packers, it was just a statement to beat them. This is a game where, I think the Vikings could go out and win by 2 or 3 possessions, show off how good their offense is. But I say that, and immediately the thought that comes into my head is this is Mike Zimmer we're talking about. We're going to run the ball 50 times, probably win 3-0, and go on to Tampa Bay next week. But I'm afraid that some of the young, this is a young team. I'm afraid that they are going to get caught up looking ahead towards Tampa Bay, especially that secondary. Just thinking about Tom Brady and Mike Evans and Chris Godwin and Antonio Brown and Rob Gronkowski and all of the weapons on that team. And if they get caught looking ahead, DJ Chark is not a bad wide receiving option. The running back, Robinson, he is a damn good running back. And, they just played an 8-win Browns team, and they gave them everything they could handle. So let's get into some matchups that we're excited about specifically. I'll kick us off really quick just because I just spoiled it. It's going to be Robinson against Kendricks for me. It's going to be, I think Jacksonville is going to try and establish the run on the Vikings. I don't think they're going to come out just slinging the ball with Mike Glennon. It's gonna come down to Eric Kendricks and Eric Wilson, along with the defensive line, just shutting down the run, getting in, making your tackles, and just playing sound defense. So that's my number one matchup, just because I think that is Jacksonville's offense. Jack, what matchups are you looking forward to?
Yeah, before I get into it, it's been a while since we've actually talked about an injury report, but I'm just going to discuss. I have the Vikings injury report pulled up for week 13 right now. Still not practicing. DJ Wanham did not practice today with the ankle back injury. He's been out all week. Irv Smith Jr. is still being held out of practice. And then limited today was Ezra Cleveland and Dalvin Cook. It sounds like that was a scary injury, seeing Dalvin Cook go off the field last week, and it sounds like he's practicing on a limited basis, which I don't want to speculate things, because normally when I speculate things, I'm wrong. But it seems like it's one of those things where he's kind of easing into the Sunday. I feel like he's going to play. And like you said, the spread it's a high spread. Why not use Alexander Madison a little bit more and keep his legs under him heading into a much more meaningful game next week? Like you said, don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves. But switching over to the Jaguars, they have a little bit longer of an injury report. Just going to read the did not practice. Dakota Allen, linebacker, did not participate in practice. Ben Ellefson, if I said that right, tight end, did not practice. Devon Hamilton, defensive tackle, did not practice. And it looks like they had a couple guys that had scheduled days off. A lot of limited guys. DJ Chark is one of those limited guys. Another wide receiver, Chris Conley, was limited as well. I'm trying to see if there's any notable names on here. There's not any other than those two. But the matchups that I'm looking forward to the most in this game, it's the same matchup on both sides of the ball. Starting with our secondary against these wide receivers, I agree with you. I think Jacksonville is going to come in here and trying to run it down our throats with Robinson. We've seen teams have some success running on us, but I personally believe this is going to be kind of a get-right game for this young secondary. I think we've been talking about these cornerbacks and Jeff Gladney and Cameron Dancer finding their hands on a football at some point in one of these games. We've been saying it almost every week, it seems like, whether it's you or myself saying it. And I think this is the week where one of those two, they're going to make a big play on Glennon, and I think it's going to not necessarily shoot them into the playoffs, but it's going to shoot them in the right direction if they miss the playoffs. I think this is that get-right game where our secondary starts to flip. We've talked about that all year. We've seen them struggle. They're starting to get there, but they're not quite there yet. And I think we're going to see a buckled up performance out of our secondary in this one. We haven't even mentioned Laviska Shenault Jr., who is another wide receiver that I really liked coming into this rookie class. But switching to the other side of the ball, I think that our wide receivers are absolutely going to eat. Where we didn't even mention this at the beginning of the show. Kirk Cousins won NFC Offensive Player of the Week after I think he completed over 75% of his passes for 307 yards and 3 touchdowns. That's all from memory, so I'm hoping I'm right, not 100% sure, but he did that last week with the names of BC Johnson and Chad Beebe scoring the game-winning touchdown. He gets old reliable back this weekend with Adam Thielen. Thielen was activated from the COVID-19 list, and I think we're going to see both Adam Thielen and Justin Jefferson eat on Sunday. And there's some people on Twitter starting to talk about let Kirk cook instead of let Delvin cook, and I'm here for it. I want to see what Kirk has for the rest of the season. I think we saw that Atlanta game. Kirk Cousins is a guy who typically has a couple bad games a season, but then all of a sudden he just goes on a hot streak. And that's what we're seeing right now. Kirk Cousins is playing some of the best football of 2020, or for him of 2020. And he's right there. I mean, his fourth quarter passer rating this year, you're hearing that right. If you want to talk to me about garbage stats, I'm not even going to bring that up because, I mean, there's obviously a couple games that probably were a little bit garbage timey, but it doesn't matter. He's trying to come back against prevent defense. And like the Green Bay game when we threw it to Thielen, people are saying that's garbage time. No, he's trying to get the team back in the game. Fourth quarter passer rating, he is the highest in the NFL over Patrick Mahomes. That says something. This guy is more clutch than people realize. I'm not ready to come out here and say Kirk Cousins is going to take the Vikings to the Super Bowl, but he deserves some credit for this team, like flipping from 1-5 to now having a chance to get back to 500. Kirk Cousins is playing good football right now. Having said that, before I flip back to you and you can get back into this game, I'm going to go on a bit of a tangent that we brought up. Zach Wilson and BYU have an extremely fun game to watch this weekend. It just got confirmed today that they're playing the 18th ranked Coastal Carolina, so there's going to be a legitimate game. I don't think it's enough to boost them into a Final Four type situation. At this point, I think it's almost unrealistic to expect that. But seeing BYU go up against somebody in a New Year's Six Bowl would still be cool. I want to see Zach Wilson get a legitimate defense in his face and see how he handles that. So tune into that as well. We're also starting to see the Vikings win, which means the chance of the Vikings landing. Zach Wilson is getting less and less each week. But having said that, the Chiefs also, I think, traded up to get a guy who I think he's playing there still to this day. I think he's a pretty good quarterback, if I'm remembering correctly, and Patrick Mahomes. So, those are the two matchups that I'm looking forward to the most. Are definitely just our secondary against their wide receivers, because like you said, they have DJ Chark is a good wide receiver. Keelan Cole is another wide receiver I like, and Laviska Shenault is a speedster that had comparisons to a Cordero Patterson coming out of college. I think he went to Colorado, if I'm remembering correctly. And then switching over to our side of the ball, or our defense side of the ball, I'm really looking forward to our cornerbacks matching up with those, and then vice versa for our wide receivers. I think are going to have a day on Sunday as well.
Yeah, hopefully, and you bringing up Cousins, that's why I was going to go with this next, was hopefully the offensive line can keep Cousins clean in this game. The Jaguars traded away everyone on their defensive line. I think they still have, the names are escaping me tonight. What's his name? What's the pass rusher's name? Jack, help me out.
You remember Ngakoue? He was here. Calais Campbell is another one. Is that who you're thinking of?
Don't they have a rookie and he has the same name?
This year. Josh Allen. He's hurt. Was he a rookie last year, I believe? Yes. Or was it this year? He's on IR, I think.
Oh, is he on injured reserve? Really?
I think so. Yep. I'm on their ESPN depth chart right now. He is on IR. I'm really good at this, aren't I? They drafted Chassian this year out of LSU, though. That might be who you're thinking as well. He was another pass rushing. I think he was their first round pick this year. He was definitely a first round pick.
If I'm being completely honest, I meant Josh Allen, because I haven't watched a lot of Jags games this year, and I haven't really paid much attention to him other than, they're losing a lot and they benched the mustache, so they must not be, they kind of lost me.
Yeah, and also, I'm pretty sure I'm remembering this correctly. I'm pretty sure it was the Jaguars fans that started this, not a petition, that's the wrong word to use, but they were starting to vote for Unique Ngakoue to get into the Pro Bowl so they could get a higher pick. So
all 8 of them got on NFL.com and voted.
Yeah, if you're part of Team Tank for the Vikings, which I know there's still a few of you out there, I don't think it's really realistic for this team to land a top pick. But maybe we should start a petition for the Vikings to lose this game to screw the Jaguars out of landing Trevor Lawrence. We want to fight fire with fire. I think there's a lot more fans up here in Minnesota that could take the Jags out of contention. Or probably shouldn't be talking about fan bases getting into keyboard wars, but anyways.
Yeah, but going to this game and drawing the comparisons back to that Buffalo game a couple of years ago, the big issue in that game was Cousins was just under fire all day. They were bringing heat up the middle. And I said after last week's game, it felt like when Carolina was getting pressure, it was always up the middle. They were blitzing up the middle. They were just dominating, Dakota Dojo and the middle of the line. And it wasn't like they just obliterated Cousins. Cousins still stayed relatively clean, but there were some up the middle pressures. There was a strip sack that got returned for a touchdown. Touchdowns in 10 seconds for Jeremy Chin. He's the rookie of the year. If you didn't hear the stupid Saints player, I can't remember a name to save my life tonight. Jonathan
That's a name.
Vilma.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's like Voldemort. That's a name that we should just start calling him. Thou who
It
shall not
really
be
is.
named.
Would I get like investigated if like I put a little sign like right here and it was just like Vilma's face with like a little like one of those through it, like because he's awful and he sounds too much like Greg Jennings for me to like instantly know that it's him. But anyway, Cousins is gonna have to stay clean. Offensive line is going to have to do a good job to protect him. As much as Mike Zimmer wants to run the ball 62 times and throw it once, it's not going to happen. Cousins is going to have to throw the ball a couple times in this game. So just making sure, it kind of feels like for the Vikings, if they just can not make mistakes, they should win this game. And they should win it, kind of by more than 2 possessions, maybe like 2 to 3 possessions. Which is why I think the spread is continuing to grow and grow because a lot of money and a lot of gamblers are like, yeah, I'll take the Vikings. The Jaguars aren't doing really well. We get Thielen back, that whole thing. So just minimizing those mistakes. You can't let Cousins get, blindsided. You can't let, him get 6 guys hitting him straight up the middle or else he will fumble. And Cousins has to, kind of pull up and he's got to, he can't make the throws that he made against Atlanta. Specifically the first throw he made against Atlanta, which was one of the worst throws I've seen him make, where he just threw it directly to Falcon. He's just got to play smart football. He's got to, protect the football, let Dalvin carry the team, and kind of ride it out. Obviously, Dalvin Cook's another matchup that I think every week it's, watch what 33 does. By the way, Derrick Henry says he's the best running back in the NFL, so that's fun. Rodney Lafreniere, did I pronounce that right?
Lafreniere, yes.
Lafreniere. Thank you for tuning in. We appreciate you. He says, Sauve said, is it the mustache? Am I Steve Harvey? Is this the joke?
I don't know. I don't understand what we might have said something too.
Maybe we did. I don't know. Maybe we won't muted before. Or maybe it's my sweater. I don't know. Either way, moving. Do you have any more matchups that you want to go into before we talk about some game balls?
I had some notes that I did take down here that I was just kind of doing a little bit of research because I wanted to see the numbers before we got into this, and it just. Going off of the 2 matchups that I'm looking forward to most, I shouldn't even say 2 matchups because it's the same matchup on both sides of the ball. The Jags in yards per game, passing wise, are ranked 29th in the NFL, whereas the Vikings are ranked 25th. But I'm taking Kirk Cousins and the weapons that we have on our roster over what Mike Glennon has. I'm not saying the Jags don't have the pieces on their offense to find success, but I don't have any faith that Glennon is going to get into any sort of rhythm. Granted, our defense hasn't been anything spectacular, but like I said, I do think this is kind of that get-right game for our defense.
Yeah, and I will say really quickly before we get into the game ball section, which is, of course, powered by Manscaped, I just have to say that if the Vikings lose this game, I think next Wednesday will be a mock draft show. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that the Vikings drop 1 to the Jags. It is mock draft season. We don't stand. If we can't beat the Jags, the Bucs are gonna have their way with us off of a bye. But moving on into game balls. Game balls are the highest honor you can receive here at Load the Box. These are the preemptive game balls where we predict who we think is gonna have a good day. Of course, on Sunday nights you can tune in. We will recap the Vikings game and give out actual game balls for who actually went out on the field and did the damn job. But the highest compliment here is a game ball. The highest compliment you can get in life is for someone to compliment your balls. And let me just say, Manscaped just makes some bomb products. I get on here every week and I say Manscaped does this, Manscaped does that. We're trying to just give you value. It's Christmas time. There's 23 days until Christmas. My camera's not focused on my penguin, but my penguin back here does have a Christmas counter on it, and he is counting down the days until Christmas. You have 23 days to go to manscaped.com. Use code LOADTHEBOX, no spaces, LOADTHEBOX, all one word. And you're going to get 20% off a great stocking stuffer with the Lawnmower 3.0. You can get really good products such as ball toner, ball deodorant. You can get all this stuff. You can smell good. You can be smooth as a baby's bottom. It's just a great deal. And then Manscaped, because they just love to give their stuff away for cheap, they're also going to give you free shipping with the code MANSCAPEDPOD. So that's Manscaped, like, you know, Manscaped, this world that's right here above my shoulder. Manscaped Pod gets you free shipping, and then Load the Box gets you 20% off. I'm telling you, I've already had people text me and say, hey, used your code. That's just awesome. You know, save some money, and I know my husband's going to love it. I know, you know, my boyfriend's going to love it, whoever. It's just a great gift. And, I mean, I already have a bunch of Manscaped stuff, but I'm 99% sure that my stocking is also going to be stuffed with Manscaped stuff just because the value is so insane. So one more time, Load the Box, 20% off. Manscaped Pod gets you that free shipping. All right, Jack, now we can talk about actual game balls now that I just spent 15 minutes plugging our sponsors. I'll let you go first. It's been a while since we've done this. Feels like we haven't done a show in 2 months.
You want to pick? I kind of know what side of the ball that I want to go with because I just have a...
Yeah, you go ahead.
I want to say feeling, but we kind of ruined my rhythm with not having a show for a week, and I was on a sway of things, and I've kind of sucked at making predictions. But I'm going to try and get back on the horse this weekend. My game ball, I'm going with Cameron Dancer. I think one of these rookies is going to get a game-changing pick. I'm hoping this isn't a game where we need a game-changing play. But if it happens early on, my bold prediction is Cam Dancer pick 6. He's going to house one off Mike Glennon. I think he's shown flashes in coverage. He's been his numbers are starting to look like he is the cornerback 1 on this roster. He hasn't been targeted as much, and I think there's a reason for that. I think the Jaguars are going to get behind early in this one, and I think Cameron Dancer is going to get a pick 6. Maybe not a pick 6, but my bold prediction, I'll stick with the pick 6, but I do think Cameron Dancer is going to find his hands, even if it's just like a really good pass breakup. I think, like I said, we're going to start to see the clicking of the secondary very soon. We didn't have the preseason. I'm not going to use that as an excuse because nobody had a preseason. So the Vikings shouldn't get this participation trophy for not having a preseason as much as it means to Mike Zimmer trying to go undefeated every year in the preseason. But I think Cameron Dancer has really shown flashes of being that shutdown corner. We haven't quite seen that yet, but against a very subpar quarterback, I think Cameron Dancer finds his hands on the football this weekend, and I'm going with Cameron Dancer for my game ball.
Absolutely. I like it mainly because I love Cameron Dancer, and I would love for him to get a pick because I want him to do well. I want him to be a stud along with Jeff Gladney. Just for the record, if I had defense this week, I would pick Jeff Gladney again because Jeff Gladney is going to be the one to get the pick. I'm just telling you now. I'm just going to keep saying it. It's going to happen someday. It might be his 5th year in the league, and he might be playing for the Giants, but he's going to get an interception someday. I promise you that. Moving on to the offensive side of the ball, I do have to say BJ, and I'm going to butcher this again, Lafreniere?
Yep.
Okay, BJ Lafreniere saying Kyle Rudolph is his pick for his game ball this week. I could see Rudy having a good game against the Jags, kind of that safety blanket for Cousins. Cousins just wants to play it safe.
And it sounds like the Vikings, they might be without Irv Smith Jr. again this week as well.
Yeah.
I don't remember. I have the injury report still up. I don't think he practiced today. Let me double check that though. Yeah, he didn't. He was one of the two did not practice today. So.
Then that ups it even more. But Cousins, if he does just want to play it safe, doesn't want to take too many deep shots, finding Kyle Rudolph over the middle is always going to be a good option, especially now that secondary is going to have to respect Adam Thielen and Justin Jefferson. But on that note, I'm not going to go with Kyle Rudolph, although I love the pick, BJ. I'm going to be going with Mr. What's the freaking flag for? And I can't do a good Minnesotan accent, but if you haven't watched the video of Adam Thielen just looking like me every week while I'm watching the game, I'm sure Jack or any Vikings fan just, what's the flag for? What's the flag? And that just the way he says flag, it kills me every time. I can't stop laughing it.
Does he have? I don't know how he says it, but I get made fun of quite frequently for how I say like bag, and flag is probably how I would say it as well. I don't know if it was similar to that, but
yeah, it's very similar to me.
Been made fun of for extending my A's and throwing a couple E's in there rather than just having the A. So
no, there are some times where you'll be talking, and don't get me wrong, I am no one to judge how people talk. All right, I talk like an idiot. My wife is in the chat. Thank you, Delaney. She thinks Justin Jefferson is going to be the one to have a big day. It's probably just because I think she likes to watch him do the goodie so much. But
did you see? Not trying to take this away from you, this moment that you were about to say, but Justin Jefferson was doing a podcast, and I don't remember who it was with, but he said, and I'm smiling just thinking about this, he said that he is going to try this weekend, if he scores, to get number 8 to hit the gritty with him. And my life would be complete if I can see that. If I can see Kirk Cousins doing the gritty, the season is already won. I don't care what happens on the back half of the season. Give me Kirk Cousins rocking a gritty with Justin Jefferson in the end zone. I'm all for that.
What did Cousins do? Cousins did that little, I know because for a while I'm on Android. I don't have an iPhone, so I had a GIF as my background, and I had Cousins doing that little this dance in the end zone with Diggs. But that might be a bad sign because once Cousins dances with a receiver, he immediately wants to be traded. So maybe we don't want Cousins doing any goodies, but if he does, I'm sure the internet will blow up. If you didn't see Cousins' interview on the Pat McAfee show, by the way, I would go check that out. That's pretty cool. Cousins had a really good, very Minnesotan passive-aggressive, I guess Midwestern, but whatever, very passive-aggressive. He was talking about the Saints game with Rudy, and he said Kyle Rudolph, in, I guess, the most egregious push-off there's ever been in a football game, caught that touchdown pass, and I was like, oh, man, I don't want us to draft a quarterback anymore. I love him. I just can't help it. But anyway, I'm going with Adam Thielen. Go watch the video of him reacting to last week's game if you haven't. But him being back, bad secondary, bad football team, I think it makes too much sense for him to have 120 yards, probably 2 touchdown catches, because it seems like he is impossible to stop once you get into the red zone. NFL.com earlier this season ranked him as the number 1 red zone threat in the league, or just red zone wide receiver, not necessarily threat. But you look at the catches that he had against Dallas and the catches he had against Chicago. You just watch this guy play, and boy, oh boy, is he something crazy. Moving on, I want to really quickly, before we get into score predictions, go back to the chat. Delaney Hawthorne is, of course, saying that it is true. She does just want to see the goodie. Tom Day in the chat saying, game ball to special teams this week. That would be perfect. Else ... I don't think there's any else, Tom. I think Marlon Malouf, or whatever his name is, the special teams coordinator, is gone at the end of this season, and he will be in the unemployment line. He will be getting a check from the state because he's not going to have a job. This has been one of the worst special teams years I've seen from the Vikings in a long time, it feels like. Now, thank God Dan Bailey's making most of his kicks. But other than that, we can't return a punt. We can't return kicks. When we do bring a ball out of the end zone, we go to the 15 and get stopped. We'll muffin kick. It's been bad. We're getting kicks blocked. We're messing up fake punts in games that, I don't know. The special teams has been awful. But he also is giving a game ball to the O-line, which, of course, we will be talking on Sunday night, hopefully, about the Tom Day Offensive Lineman Award, or Offensive Line Appreciation Award, whatever it is, because Tom Day loves whenever we show the O-line some love. And I agree with you, Tom. In order for Thielen to get this game ball, the O-line's going to have to hold up for Cousins to hit him on a couple deep balls. Now we can get into score predictions, Jack, that we have addressed the chat. Do you want to go first, or do you want me to?
Yeah, I can go first. I think touching on one thing more on that offensive line as well. I think he's been limited in practice this week. Hopefully, Ezra Cleveland comes back because it just seems like, I mean, he had a little bit of a shaky start at first. He's a rookie starting on a different position on the opposite side of the line that he's used to. So I think that was rightfully so. He kind of struggled, but ever since that first game, he has kind of solidified. He's been the guy that came in and solidified this offensive line. Dakota Dozier hasn't been great at left guard. Brett Jones hasn't been great replacing Ezra Cleveland, but I'm curious to see if Ezra Cleveland comes back, if there's any chance that we see Brett Jones switch over to that left guard spot and you get Dakota Dozier out of here. I'm starting to think more and more, and this is going to piss a lot of people off when I say this, but I'm starting to think kind of similarly to what you said. I don't know if it was last week when you said this, but a Wyatt Davis pick in the first round is starting to look more and more sexy on this team. If Kirk Cousins can finish out the season at the pace that he's going at right now, and you get a legitimate, I mean, we could be potentially looking at the best Vikings offensive line that we've had since having Adrian Peterson in the backfield, the Steve Hutchinson era. And that would be scary because you've seen what Kirk Cousins is able to do with a very bad offensive line. Imagine getting a legit offensive line in front of him.
Jack,
He has Justin Jeff.
I want to cut you off really quick because you saying that raises a very important question. You said the Steve Hutchinson era of that dominant offensive line. So let's say the Vikings do draft Wyatt Davis and they do have a very good offensive line again. Whose offensive line would it be considered? Who would you consider the best player on that line? I know Wyatt Davis is a rookie and he's not even on the team and he might never be, but right now, who do you think the number one lineman is on the team?
I still am going to lean towards Brian O'Neill. I think he's proven himself. We've seen flashes of Ezra Cleveland. We're seeing Garrett Bradbury come in, and we're kind of starting to see that tenacity that was talked about in college. I've heard this on several podcasts as well. He's starting to become the leader of that group as well, which is big for a center. And then, like I said, Ezra Cleveland is young, but we've seen Riley Reif. I mean, before this season, I would have been saying that, yes, we need a left tackle 100%. I think he has one more year on his deal that he restructured. I'm more than content heading into the 2021 football season with Riley Reif as the starting left tackle, because that would mean you have Riley Reif at left tackle, Wyatt Davis and Ezra Cleveland, then Garrett Bradbury in between those two, and you have Brian O'Neill at right tackle. I'm not ready to claim that as a top 10, even maybe a top 15 offensive line quite yet. But if they can start sneaking up towards that top 10, I'm just saying this right now, Kirk Cousins with Delvin Cook coming out of the backfield, Justin Jefferson, Irv Smith Jr. year 3, and Adam Thielen still playing in his prime, watch out for this offense. And we've already talked about I'll say free agents in air quotes because we're getting our own players back next season. And then you might sprinkle in a few guys that you draft as well. This team could be scary in 2021. And I'm going to say this right now. This team could be scary in 2021 with Kirk Cousins under center. Having said that, and going off of my tangent, I will get into my score prediction now. I do have the Vikings winning this one fairly handedly. I am saying Vikings come out on top 34-17. I think it's going to be a little bit of a wider scoring margin than that 34-17, but I think the Jags are going to score some garbage time points and just kind of have Zimmer throw out some of the younger guys, see what they have towards the back half of the game. But I think this is a game where the Vikings are going to put their foot down. I don't think that Zimmer is going to allow a trap game to happen. I think this defense is going to come out, play physical, and have the best game that they've had so far. It's against a bad offense and a bad team in general. Vikings come out on top 34-17.
It's funny that you said 34. I'm actually going with 35. No field goals, just touchdowns in this game for the Vikings. Give me the Vikings at 35-13. I'll say the Jags get 2 field goals and a touchdown. I think that seems 2 field goals. We're up 35-6. We throw the backups in. Teddy Bridgewater comes in and the stadium goes crazy. It's
How about this? My 34 is still 5 touchdowns, but a blocked extra point.
If there's a blocked extra point, I'm not kidding. A dozen Vikings fans might legitimately have aneurysms.
I was just saying that to get you that reaction out of you. I knew there was some sort of reaction.
Man, I'm telling you, it's man. So this is gonna be my new gimmick on the show. I'm gonna have a wall. I'm gonna replace the WWE Championship right here. I'm gonna replace it with like just a wall of banned things, and like it's gonna be Vilma, and then it's going to be Marlon Maloof, and then it's going to be like, I don't know, somebody else that I really don't like that. I don't know. I can't really think of anybody off the top of my head right now. Oh, Sean Payton. Sean damn
We both just had
Payton.
a light go off right at the same time, I think.
Sean Payton and Alvin Kamara. Alvin Kamara chewing that arrowhead, laughing at Vikings fans before you got dunked on.
Yeah, give me Sean Payton behind you doing a skull chant. I'd love that.
Oh, I'd also love that. Oh man. Okay, I'm not gonna do it because we're at 40 minutes. We're already like 10 minutes over time. That's my score prediction. I'm gonna do a miniature version of it. How the Saints have to hate us, right? Like the Saints.
I would think so. I would think so.
The Saints have played us twice. Both times it's like, oh yeah, the Vikings, they went and blew it in the playoffs. Typical old Vikings. And then they just come back and either in overtime or with a miracle play, they just knock Drew Brees out of potentially getting another ring. Not even to mention the Rams game that happened in between. It went miracle, egregious pass interference, overtime push off, and then this year, which is TBD. But wouldn't it be great if we could, like, I don't think it's going to happen. Could we cost them the division on Christmas Day?
Potentially. I think some things will have to happen with Tampa, who we also play it next week. But give me this Louisiana boy himself, Justin Jefferson, in the home of the Gritty, winning that game in overtime, hitting the Gritty in his home state over the Saints. Give me that. I'm all here for it. I will take any bit of karma that I can have against the New Orleans Saints because I there's just like something that starts to burn inside of me when we start talking about the New Orleans Saints. It brings me back to being an 8th grader or a freshman in high school, whatever year it was, and me still bawling my eyes out after that game and not being emotionally stable going to school the next day because of that game. I have no place for not having hatred left for the Saints in my body. I can't do it. And I think they have deserved every little bit of karma that they have gotten. And I'm not going to say that I hope that karma continues until the Vikings finally win that Super Bowl, because I still think they deserve that Super Bowl. They were the best team that year. And the New Orleans Saints, I hope there's New Orleans Saints fans that this stumbles across. You cheated your way to a Super Bowl. Have fun saying that you're Super Bowl champions after cheating your way there. It's really cool.
We're going to have to stop playing. We're going to have to distribute some bingo boards to people that watch the show regularly. And I think it's going to be like Fooey Space, and then somewhere on that board it's going to be you cheated your way to a Super Bowl. Like
Sean, I've said that a lot lately.
Oh, like, stop giving us Jonathan Vilma, please. Like those we're starting to get a little repetitive. Delaney in the chat saying true. I don't know if she's saying true about Sean Payton or about the bingo boats, but either way, I've been Jordan Hawthorne. I'll go ahead and finish up my part of the show, and then I'll let Jack get us ready for Sunday's game. The Vikings need this win. It's very clear for the Vikings, the road to the playoffs. Win all the games, and you are in. Don't need any help. You're a playoff team if you just win out. So the easiest path is to just win out. Obviously, the Buccaneers and the Saints are still on the schedule, as well as another game with Chicago and Detroit, which, who knows what happens in division. This isn't a slam dunk playoff season for the Vikings. Hope is still alive, even if it's fading. No matter what happens, I like what I have seen from this team. I like the fight that I've seen. I've liked that the defense has started looking a lot better. I've liked Justin Jefferson turning into a superstar. And I've liked Dalvin Cook. And I'm going to say it. This is how I'm going to leave it. Just think about it. Dalvin Cook seems to get hurt every time he does something bad, a la Xavier Rhodes. Now, I don't know how much validity there is, but I thought his career was over when he fumbled last week. And then he came back. He was doing sprints on the sideline 2 minutes later. So I don't know. Just something to keep an eye on. I'm not saying he's the new Xavier Rhodes, but don't like that part so much. But I like what I've seen from this Vikings team. I'm glad they have fought and showed some fight in them. I'm glad Zimmer's gotten them back up. And let's go on a run. Let's make the playoffs, and let's see if we can be the 07 Giants.
Yeah, I am all here for that. I hope something like that is possible. Make sure if you're listening and you don't follow us already on Twitter, make sure you follow us on Twitter. I'm not going to give you both of ours because you can find it on the Twitter on Load the Boxes page. Follow us at LTB Vikings. I just said at, and that's another word that I always mispronounce. My girlfriend rips me for it all the time. I'm supposed to say at, and I think she might be listening, but It's just the Minnesotan in me that you
What's
can't
the
take out, I
flag
guess.
foul?
But there's not like any huge spiel this week. I mean, there are playoff implications on the line. It's a bad Jacksonville team that seem like they want to be losing. They want in on the Trevor Lawrence sweepstakes, and people don't even know if Trevor Lawrence is coming out of college yet. I think I would personally, if I was Trevor Lawrence, I don't know why you'd miss out on the money and risk injury and anything like that happening, but that's a whole other topic of discussion. I think the Vikings offense is playing at too high of a level. Kirk Cousins is, according to PFF, playing at a top 5 quarterback level in 2020. Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen are both top 3 wide receivers. And oh, hey, by the way, we have Dalvin Cook coming out of the backfield. So I think it's too much for the Jaguars to handle. Their defense is not anything near what it was in that 2017 season where they made a playoff run. They were very special, and they are not anywhere near that level anymore. So I think this Vikings offense is really going to be able to do what they want against that Jaguars defense. And I think, like I said, I think this is a get right game for the Vikings defense. And my game ball prediction is a part of that. I think Cameron Dancer comes out and he shows the world what he's capable of. He kind of starts to re-earn that nickname of the Needle. I need to see some more physical plays, some big hits out of that secondary. I love seeing that, just the physicality that Jeff Gladney, we've seen it out of Cameron Dancer, we've seen it out of Chris Boyd. I love those cornerbacks playing with aggressiveness. So I think that, like I said, I think this is a get right game for this defense. And I think, like I said, with my score prediction, I think the Vikings come out on top 34-17, get to 6-6. Then they fly down to Tampa Bay with a matchup with the GOAT and arguably some of the best skilled positional players in the entire NFL. But like I've seen this all over Twitter. The Vikings do not want to get too far ahead of themselves. That has happened in years past, a la Jordan bringing up the Buffalo game, talking about the Atlanta game as well this year. Go out, beat the Jaguars, and then focus on Tampa Brady. I can't even say that right, but Tom Brady, I know Jordan and myself both have mutual respect for him, and we will both say on this show that he is by far the GOAT of the NFL. Having said that, go out, beat the Jags, Duval Nation, Skull Nation's got to come out on top.